Hello, you. It's me. And after watching Amber, I've been, well, I never watch her directly. I watch commentators who talk about her. But I was watching her videos through them, and this idea, for some reason, that having BPD is not only the answer to why she acts the way she acts, but how cute and quirky it is to have it. And this has been her most recent quote unquote diagnosis, which she hasn't been diagnosed yet. She's also had bipolar and a couple other things, ADHD, ADD, I don't know. But Amber reads these off like they're cute, quirky, little funny things. But you have to understand she has these things, and that's why you have to forgive all that she does. In my opinion, having studied psychology, I think she's much closer to narcissistic personality disorder, and I mean clinically, not just, oh, she's so narcissistic acting. No, I mean clinically narcissistic personality disorder. Now, I can't diagnose her because I'm not around her. I can't do it face to face, which is really the only way that you can diagnose something like that. It takes a lot to diagnose somebody, but it does raise a thing that I fight with every day. Somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder, a lot of people think it's because they were pampered too much, spoiled as a child, and they just grew up with it. The truth is that if somebody is spoiled as a child, and they grow up being a spoiled adult, they can still learn the difference between right and wrong, and they can break out of that. Somebody with clinical narcissistic personality disorder, it's not so easy. It's because it affects part of their prefrontal cortex. There's a part of the brain that develops and changes your perception. And with somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder, it never develops beyond the me stage. That's how I like to describe it. 3-year-old says, mine, me, mine, it's me, it's mine. They don't develop beyond that. For some reason, the development stops, or it's not able to continue. And so they do not continue to develop to realize that other people are also equal in value to themselves. They only see themselves. And I know that researchers have been trying to learn how to reignite that part of the brain, stimulate it in order to get it to function so that it will mature and it will cure it'll cure a narcissist is what it will do, because that part of the brain will develop and mature and grow, and they will come to realize, other people are valuable. It's not just about themselves. When it comes to sociopathy and psychopathy, it is the same part of the brain, but for them, oh goodness, this is my second time recording this, so I'm a little tongue-tied, I'm sorry. Anyway, for someone who is a sociopath or a psychopath, that part of the brain never developed, or it may not even be there. And again, this is the research is slow. And the reason being is because these kind of people are detestable, horrible human beings. I mean, look at Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She, to me, is definitely more on the psychopathic side than the sociopathic. And that is because she was willing to murder her mother in order to get freedom. And with people of all three of these, they do not value people. They think of people as tools. Everything in their life is a tool to get what they want or to get their own comfort. So all these people doing these TikToks for ADHD or autism or whatever, I get frustrated with all the, oh, it's so cute and quirky. It's not. It's not cute and quirky. It's hard. It's difficult to live with, especially for someone who is a narcissist, sociopath, or psychopath, because they will never see that they have an issue or a problem because they have a very high sense of self. And so they won't go get help, which is why research is so difficult. Plus, dealing with these people, you just hate them. They're not likable people. They can be very charming to rope you in, but they will always hurt you in a number of ways, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically. It could be any of the three or all of the three, because all they're doing is mirroring somebody that you want to be around until they switch that off and they become who they are. And that's when it gets scary. And that's when you want to run away. And I recommend you do. I recommend stay away from people like that, because they can't be cured, at least not right now. They have not found a way of developing that part of the brain to help them to mature and to gain a different perspective, whereas other people exist and are just as important as you are. So when it comes to someone like Amber, I don't like her, but I do feel sorry for her, because I don't think she can help how she acts and what she does. That doesn't mean she's a good person. It does mean that, in my opinion, I would like to see her get help, but there really isn't any help for what she has. In my opinion, what I think she has, I should say, because I cannot diagnose. But we need to stop with, oh, my child's autistic, isn't it cute and cuddly? It's not. There's a woman who does TikToks, and bless her, who has a child who's autistic, and she shows how violent her child is, how her child headbutts her, hits her hard. I mean, not just a little tap, punching. And it makes her exhausted. And even she gets frustrated. People think she's doing something wrong, but it's not her. It's the mental disorder that her child has. Her child can't help the way that they act. And she's trying to tell you, there's different forms of autism, and her child has an extreme form. And she has her child with all the specialists doing all the things, being the kind of great parent that she needs to be. But sometimes the results don't happen, or sometimes the results are very slow to happen. I think she would just be happy to have some results of her son learning how to express himself in ways beyond hitting and being violent. And that's hard. That's how some autistic children express themselves. That's the only way they know how, is by hitting and kicking and being very violent. And it's got to be frustrating for her. And it is. You can see it on her face. She's just exhausted. We need to be more sympathetic to the moms and dads, to the brothers and sisters who struggle along with their child or their siblings or their cousin or whatever it might be. Because you have to have the utmost patience, and you have to have the understanding that they aren't trying to be mean or to hurt you. This is how they express themselves. It's the only way they can understand. And with all the learning in the world, it takes a lot of time for them to learn to do differently. And sometimes they don't learn how to do differently. And we need to be aware mental disorders, mental illnesses are not just cute and quirky, silly and funny. They're serious. And if we can get an understanding of that and a kindness to people that have to deal with it every day, I think that would be a great step. Now, can we do this with someone like Amber or Gypsy Rose Blanchard? In my opinion, Gypsy Rose is definitely a psychopath, only because she had no problem with taking a life in order for her to be comfortable. She did not value that life. It was just a tool. But can we blame her for not understanding that? Can we blame Amber for all the people that she's hurt and abused and the animals that she's abused? Can we be mad at them for doing those things? Yes, absolutely. We can be very angry. It's unacceptable. On the other hand, though, it's not under their control. We also need to understand that. Gypsy is a monster, but she needs to be a monster who is caged so that we can control the monster. Amber, same thing. They need to be controlled because they cannot control themselves. I think both of them would be perfect candidates for experimental types of therapy. And, maybe if they had more people like Amber and Gypsy to experiment with, and I'm not saying harm them, I'm saying genuinely experimental therapies that might help that part of the prefrontal cortex to get stimulated and grow so that they can become adult working individuals who can work within society instead of using everybody as a tool to make them happy. I would be in such support of that. But I don't know, the best thing I can suggest is when you see somebody like these two, to stay away. And that's the saddest part, especially for a narcissist, I think, is that they 99% of the time die lonely and depressed by themselves. But you can see why. You see the way Amber acts. And again, can't diagnose, but she shows clear clinical signs of narcissism, in my opinion. She's alone now. Her mother puts up with her, but you can see the strain. And that's what happens. It's very stressful and strenuous. People get tired of dealing with people like this. Same with Gypsy. All the people that she, acted like they were friends with, best friends, she needs to have people around her until she doesn't need them anymore. And then they didn't exist. Or, oh, well, those people, I didn't roommate with them. I don't even know who that is. Because they don't matter anymore. The tool has been used and it's gone. Again, Gypsy's a monster. There's no doubt about it. But it's her mental illness, her mental disorder, that made that monster. I don't think that she should be out in society. She certainly should not be around a child, a baby. She should be in a place where she can be watched, and maybe they can try some therapies. It would be amazing if we could cure narcissism, sociopathy, and psychopathy and bring these people back to what is quote unquote normal, it would be amazing. It would be a miracle. But the question is, what do we do with people like that now? This is not something cute and quirky. Mental illness is serious. And I know a lot of people don't understand, but a mental illness is due to a physical abnormality in the brain. They call it mental illness because you can see the symptoms of it, but you can't see it on an individual when you just look at them. It's like a hidden sickness, a hidden illness, which is why they call it mental illness. But it is definitely an abnormality in the brain. You know, you can see if somebody doesn't have a hand, but you can't see if somebody has bipolar disorder. You can only go by what they display, their symptoms of the disorder. But we do have medications for bipolar, and it seems to work pretty well. Although a person with bipolar still has to do a lot of therapy to learn how to work within society, because it's not easy, because they do think differently. That's true of any mental illness. They think differently, and therapy is a great tool to use to help them get along with society and work with people instead of against them. But some mental illnesses don't work like that, and we have to be aware of that. It is a physical abnormality in the brain that causes the mental illnesses that they display. But having said that, we don't need people who harm people in the community. We need to separate them, to try to understand them, and to work with them. The problem is they're not willing to work. They're not willing to do the work. And that's what makes it so difficult. I wish I had a better answer for that, but that's just the truth. It's not cute and quirky. It's hard and it's difficult, and there's still research being done to try to figure it out. It's not easy, especially not easy when people are horrible, despicable, disgusting, monstrous people who harm everybody in their path. Why would you want to help those people? But the truth is, if we help those people now, we can help children before they get that bad, before they hurt people, so they can understand what's going on and live a happy, productive life and not harm anybody anymore. I know it's kind of I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I live in a fantasy world. But the thing is it is within reach. But in the meantime, we can't let these people hurt other people. I mean, that's really the takeaway, I think, is with someone like Amber, with somebody like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, they should not be out and running around and have the ability to hurt more people. Especially with Gypsy, because she does more than just harm people. She kills people. And she will, in fact, do it again, I guarantee you. She'll, I don't know if Ken is under her wing like Nick was. He seems to fight her too much. But certainly Ryan would. I just have that feeling. He would do anything for her. And that what might include ending up in prison himself. That's why we got to get these people out of there and try therapies on them, whether they like it or not. Try to help them. Try to make that part of the brain stimulated so it can grow and mature, so that they can understand, like we all do, that other people are just as valuable as ourselves. Anyway, I'm rambling now, but I don't know. Seeing Amberlynn Reid, seeing so many people act like all these mental illnesses are so cute and quirky, and that's why they act the way they act, la la la. I mean, honestly, if you had any of these, you probably wouldn't even realize. You wouldn't have the self-awareness unless you were diagnosed that you even have these problems and issues. You just think you'd be going through life like everyone else. And it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of therapy, medication, and in some cases, it takes a lot to grow and mature and heal from these disorders. Some you can't. Some you just have to learn how to deal with. And there are people that have learned. But there are a lot of people like Amber and Gypsy who don't think there's anything wrong and who don't. And those are the dangerous ones. So just be vigilant, be aware. And don't go for all this cute and quirky crap, because it's so wrong. It's so wrong. It really bothers me. Anyway, that's all I gotta say.